Hello, my name's Mark Farley and this is my family business, Farley. We supply film, TV, theatre, commercials with antique furniture, dressings, tapestries, chandeliers, whatever you need, we've probably got it. And I'm delighted to show you around.
So Mark,
yes.
I think that people watching might like to know, when you're out and you find all these wonderful things, and we talked earlier about, you know, choosing them and thinking if they're right for you to get them for Farley's. Can you give us an example, perhaps the piece that's to your left?
Okay, well, this particular item is actually a Grand Tour souvenir, and Italian and 18th century. First of all, I like it, and I think it can obviously go in a Roman set, it can go possibly in a Greek set, and any of the sort of medieval fantasies that you see, which are very popular at the moment. You would have some sort of incense burning here, and it creates great atmosphere, and so it's got lots of applications. It's not just fixed to that particular period.
We're in this lovely room here, and I don't know if many people know that this is a 1930s, is it, or 1920s warehouse building. And I think a lot of people, perhaps when they come here, they think that this is what it was like when you moved in. So could you just explain a little bit perhaps about these few rooms, about what you did to transform the place?
Well, I always approach the business from the client's point of view. What would I like if I was a client? I'd like to come and see everything in a kind of giant size antique shop rather than have it all racked, and try and inspire people. And so over time we've installed various panelled rooms and so on. This particular one I actually painted myself. It's all fake sienna marble and green marble. But it was fun to do, and we like to make it different, you know, when people come in, so there's a bit of a change, and they get inspired again, because we have, you know, repeat visits obviously from clients, and it's just nice to see. We've done a library through here. The workshop made all the panelling.
Beautiful.
It's based on a
This
Tuscan
little
library.
detail here is rather lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a way of displaying all the small items.
It's really beautiful. I think it helps people when they come, because they also can sort of see things in a real setting, and it perhaps, you know, if you're new to this business, wouldn't you say that it's helping you?
Absolutely. You've got furniture that's in a room. It helps you with proportion, and hopefully we'll put colour schemes together and a certain ink set on a certain desk, and that will hopefully fit the bill. It'll be the perfect desk for your baddie or whatever, and then next time there'll be a different one here.
Mark, you've just recently opened Farley, and what's it been like for you in this lockdown period?
It is very, very strange indeed. It must be strange for everybody. We had to shut the following day once the government made the announcement, but we're now open, and that's why the place looks quite so full, because there are no productions on the go at the moment, but we're really pleased to have the place open for visitors.
Goodness me, Mark. There are a lot of cases here.
Yes.
And why all these cream cases? Such an amazing display here that you have. Did you do anything in particular that made you to buy them?
Well, I know I mentioned we have a depth of stock, but this obviously is slightly extreme. We've got a huge luggage department, and one day we had a request to dress all the windows of Harrods with this cream vellum luggage, so we couldn't quite manage it. They've got quite a few windows, and so we went out and bought some more. That's essentially why we've got so much.
We're just walking through a bit of Lewis and Kay, more of it now. And you have all these wonderful things on display. Want to just tell us a little bit about what we're walking past as we go?
We have a huge range of candlesticks, epergnes, tea sets, coffee sets, china. You can see from the images you're recording now, there's masses, everything you need to dress a country house,
you just
a
got to
restaurant.
stop using your credit card, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to stop somewhere.
You seriously got a collectomania problem, haven't you?
Yes, but
yeah, is this you expressing yourself?
Yeah, I'm a frustrated designer come set decorator, that's for sure. And it does help.
Want to tell us just a little bit about this painting, Mark?
Okay, well this painting I bought actually from Sotheby's. It was quite a long time ago. Again, we needed some large-scale paintings. We were a bit short. We had plenty of portraits, but not so many landscape paintings. And this one I like very much, and it's been very popular.
Oh goodness, this is interesting. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this, where we are now?
Okay, well this is another department. This is Spiller, and this company we bought back in 1988. They used to be in Soho, crammed into a little basement in Beak Street, and my father dealt with the owners because he needed frames and so on for his business in the early days. And so when they were about to retire, we bought this collection, and it's fantastic. Old master paintings, engravings, prints, anything to hang on the wall, and it's here. Well, you always need a portrait of Queen Victoria, Churchill.
It just happens to be right behind you.
Yeah. Queen Victoria, yes. But you might want Queen Victoria when she was a young queen, and here she is in her mourning clothes, so that's obviously after Albert had died. And again, we've got the same for Elizabeth II. We have Princess Elizabeth, Elizabeth as she gets older and so on. We've got Churchill, Mussolini, all the very famous historical portraits. The business, I mean, it's a very, very long story, but the business started by accident. He had a picture framing business, and somebody came and said, would you hire that picture in the window for a film? And we then started hiring everything we owned at home, and essentially that initial formula that my parents had for the business, I have transferred to larger premises, just on a bigger scale, but we haven't really changed the approach to how we display everything and how we promote all the pieces.
I think also the interesting thing is that I'd like to say to people who might watch this is that you were always made to feel, I mean, I know I have from the day I met you. I walked in through the door and I was always made to feel like I was someone special. And I think, and I met your father many years ago, and he always had this knack of making everyone feel like they were someone. And I think it was you, I can't remember, years ago, I think I said something like, does everybody get tea and biscuits or toast? And you said to me, which I'm not sure if it came from you or Joe, but you said to me, you never know who's going to walk into that door, and as far as I'm concerned, everyone needs to be treated the same.
Absolutely.
Here we are in this wonderful section.
I, visit lots of different sets, and every time I visit a film set, I'm blown away with the scale of it and the size of how big these sets are made. And so over the years, I've been unafraid to buy some really big pieces. So we've got these huge statues and huge urns, and something like this, clients will take half a dozen of them. And they'll put them up on a building, they'll add them as part of the building, in fact. So, you know, scale is very important. So it's been a great pleasure showing you around, and we're very proud sponsor of the British Film Designers Guild, and we'll hope you come and see us very soon.
Hello, my name's Sarah Horton, and I'm an art director, and I've been a member of the Guild for several decades now, up to more than 20 years. And I'm here today, I'm talking to Phil Greenstreet from Rosco Digital Imaging. Phil is the person who actually invented the day-night backdrop process, and is an Academy Award and Emmy Technical Award winner for this achievement, which has been copied by many others since then. I'm actually talking to Phil today in California. He's in the Rosco's offices there in Sun Valley. And hello, Phil. How are you doing?
Hi, Sarah. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. We're talking, this is a true COVID conversation. I'm in Berlin and you're in Sun Valley, California. So
yeah, complete with masks.
Complete with masks. But we could be at opposite ends of the same office, actually, judging by our lighting. But anyway.
Yeah.
So, Phil, perhaps to ask first, what's the history of Rosco?
Rosco has been around since 1910. I mean, we started with simple beginnings, making bulb dip and film glue. And then it kind of built from there. Because what we're really known for is filters, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff.
Right. So what does Rosco supply to film productions, and what do you personally supply?
Well, apart from the filters, I mean, since then we've added dance floors and paint, and more recently LED lighting. And of course, what I do, which is backdrops, and the current incarnation of that is soft drop.
So how would you say that your services for soft drop, for backdrops, have changed over the years?
Well, when we started, I mean, even before my time, I started in '92, and we were making backdrops before that, largely because we were into fabrics and into the paint, so it was a natural progression. There was a scanner mural machine made by 3M that came out in, I think, the mid-'80s. And we were using those initially to make backdrops on a soft fabric. When I joined, we'd already transitioned to vinyl. Basically what I added to the process was computer control on the vinyl printing. Prior to me, we'd been computer printing one side and then actually hand painting the back at Variety Scenic in New York. So what I added to the process was computer printing both sides of the vinyl. And then we've added some other things over the years, a rental business, for example, and some motion plate shooting. But the biggest change that we've had would be transitioning to the soft drop, which happened about 2014. So now we're printing on cotton and in extremely wide widths, of the order of 16 meters by 55.
Mm-hmm. Presumably cotton is also more environmentally friendly than...
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, the vinyl, which we put out an awful lot of over the years. I mean, we had 20 years of vinyl production, and at some point, all of that's going to end up in a landfill. And frankly, you can bury it in the soil, come back 1,000 years later, hose it off, and probably shoot with it. Whereas the cotton, you know, you put it into a garbage landfill, and 5 months it's gone back to the soil with right. no ill effects. Particularly because the whole process, the printing process, is 150% carbon offset. So we're doing good by making these things rather
So what would you say your typical working day is like?
One of the benefits of the job is that there isn't really a typical working day. It changes a lot. I mean, some days we might be doing some sort of student outreach, or working with the guilds for a member, education program, or just doing some social gathering that we're hanging out and drinking with cinematographers. I mean, it varies. But if you look at the actual work end of what I do, the actual product production, my major responsibility is photography. So in a typical week, I might have like 2 shoots. So on a Monday morning, I might fly off to New York, shoot there Tuesday, day and night, obviously, and quite often multiple locations in one day. And then from there, drive down to Philadelphia, do another show there, day and night again. And then on the Friday, get back on a plane and come back. So obviously, there's a lot of flying involved. There's a lot of air miles built up. And it's that's where the 150% carbon offset kind of comes in and makes me feel a little less guilty about that end of things as well. Because otherwise, I wouldn't really be helping.
No, sure. So, yeah. So what would you say are the challenges that you have to deal with on a daily basis?
Well, scheduling is our most difficult thing. And frankly, getting information out of people is probably the hardest thing that we do, because we'll make an image and send it off. And if it's just us and the production designer, or just us and the art director, we get answers back immediately. Lately, there seems to have been a bit of design by committee. And obviously, we're quite happy for the cinematographer to have input, because that's extremely valuable. When you also have 7 producers, each of whom wants to have some kind of artistic input, whether it be, the sky color, or, there's some car 4 blocks away in Manhattan that well, wouldn't it be nice if that were orange rather than gray?
Right.
That's the thing that kills the time. That's the thing that kills our schedules. So I would say time is definitely our biggest challenge, because we're always so busy, and there's never enough of it.
Yes, I often think that the work that we do is actually fantastic, but what makes it challenging and actually stressful is the lack of time that we actually have to do it in. And I think that applies across the board,
I think it's true. And I think we've noticed during this COVID thing that we've had a couple of quite large projects that have been continuing, and we've been able to give them basically 2 months of absolute bespoke service.
Yes.
Which is slightly embarrassing, because hopefully that they won't come back on the next project and say, oh yes, well we know that we get 2 months of free retouching, and it's like, no, it doesn't usually work that way.
Yeah, no, that's I can imagine that's been a good thing to have. Talking of that, what productions have you worked on that you're particularly proud of, or that you remember?
There's one that always springs to mind, which is the Bourne Ultimatum.
Right.
Because it was a high note on every part of the production. I mean, it was a great shoot in New York again with Alan Gilmore.
Right.
And we just had a lot of fun on the shoot. The production process went smoothly. Delivery was on time. And the backdrops looked great. And everything was going fantastic. And then I went along to the cinema on the weekend it was released, full of anticipation. And I'm sitting waiting for that scene in Landy's office where you see the backdrop. And I'm there, and suddenly I'm horribly disappointed, because in the background I can see there's movement taking place. There's a column of steam coming up in the distance. I think, oh crap, they went back to the location and they reshot, because obviously I did such a bad job. And then I started looking, and it was like, wait a minute, I remember retouching that, and I remember photoshopping that, and we changed that, and we added that mural. And of course, what some clever guy had done in CG was added a teeny tiny little wisp of steam in the background. It was enough to fool the eye, and enough to fool my eye, and I shot the damn thing.
Right.
And yet, totally for me. So that was great. More recently, I'd have to say Joker, because I mean, what a brilliant project. I mean, it was a dream team of an art department, Mark Friedberg and Laura Ballinger,
Mm-hmm.
Larry Sher shooting it, fantastic color palette.
Mm.
I mean, the backdrop was very sort of very background and very secondary, but just it was so cool to be such a part of such a great project.
Right.
And especially when you think of that, you know, the superhero genre and all of that stuff, it comes with a certain look and feel. And Joker was definitely not that. It managed to transcend that genre in a way that was just awesome. I mean, it was a great thing to be part of.
Yes, I second that. It certainly did. It produced quite extraordinary results that hadn't been seen before. How often do you feel that the input that you've given to a particular film is reflected in the final result, or even does it need to be reflected in the final result? Is that something that's important?
Well, given that we make backgrounds, we're the thing out of the window that you might look at if the star's having a bad day. So it's rarely about us. I mean, we're very much on the periphery of any of this, but there's occasionally there'll be a show comes along that really features us quite heavily. So a recent example would be Isn't It Romantic, where the concept is that Rebel Wilson wakes up in this very romanticized idea of New York City, where the view out of the window has all these beautiful rose and gold light conditions coming from every direction, and every landmark in New York is visible through the window, and there's the view from her apartment, and there's the view from her office, and they're both in this fantastic thing. So we were very much a part of that. We added the romance to Isn't It Romantic?
Great.
Because having a movie called Isn't It probably wouldn't have sold very much.
No.
And there's a sequence in there where they actually do a day-to-night transition with a sweeping camera move as well. So in that instance, we were featured in a way that is very unusual.
Yes.
And it's rare. And occasionally you get other things where there's a lot of us in a scene. I mean, like at the beginning of Johnny English in the restaurant scene, everything that's not restaurant is soft drop. There's a big drop that we shot in the south of France. And there's a TV show that they shot up in Toronto called The Boys, where the view out of the conference room, it's all us. It's a very high level shot, again, of New York. But normally we're and of course, for weddings and a funeral, every time you look out our window, every time they open the door, there we are. But hopefully nobody notices. Hopefully it's just, oh, there's London, and off you go. You carry on with the scene.
Well, exactly. Yes, I think that's very true, because I think if it's not that, then I think there's a problem in other areas. If you're starting, you know, presumably if you're starting to notice the backdrop, then it means that something isn't working somewhere. And
that's normal humans. I mean, like, I notice the backdrop all the time, and it tends to ruin things for me. So to be able to have the ultimate for me is when you've got a movie that you've worked on, and you did the backdrops and you forget.
Oh, right. Like Born, like the ones that you...
Yeah, exactly. Like Born, where it fools the person who created it. That, to me, is cinematography at its best.
That's pretty impressive, yeah. I have to say. Yeah. So talking about, I mean, do you think it's actually important to get recognition for your work, or is the work in itself enough for you personally?
Well, I mean, as you said in the intro, the getting the Academy Technical Award and the Engineering Emmy, and that was pretty early on. I mean, it was when we were first really starting with the day-night. That they kind of got all that recognition stuff out the way early on. Because once you got those, then you're not too worried about getting recognition. So once you've managed to pass that hurdle, it's good. But I mean, what we now get is the sort of satisfaction oh, this sounds terrible, the satisfaction of a job well done. But it's when you get feedback from an art director who realizes that you've done something extraordinary.
Yes.
Like when we were working with Chris on Bond 25.
Yes.
And he had a backdrop that he wasn't quite sure how to talk to the DP about, and we kind of just grabbed it and ran with it and shared some photos, created a language for that particular backdrop, and then presented it to Chris, and he seemed so pleased to get that full soup to nuts service. But that was, it was a good feeling.
So it's
yeah, most of the time it's just, we're just doing a job, kind of thing. Don't clap, throw money, as my old boss used to say.
That's good. That's a nice one. I like that. So how would you say, particularly regarding backdrops, because, looking towards the future, we all know there's a whole bunch of technology coming up very fast on the outside lane. How do you see Rosco Digital Imaging, which is the part of Rosco which does the backdrops? How do you see that developing in the future?
I mean, obviously LED walls are coming in. You're seeing them more and more. I mean, the Mandalorian, great example. And probably the biggest, best known example. But things like the Orient Express as well. There's definitely times when it is advantageous to do an LED wall. There are still times when it's advantageous to just hang a piece of cloth, light it, and walk away. And the cost involved with the cloth is at the moment very much lower than with the video wall. So I think we've got a bit of time before that really starts eating into our budget. I mean, I think if I were in the blue screen business, I'd be a lot more worried.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's the thing that's going to go first. And like the projection systems, like on Oblivion, which are fantastic, but extremely technically challenging and expensive. So I think they're going to go away, and then they're going to come for us. Meanwhile, we've got rentals, which is even cheaper. So there's a certain amount of our business is always going to be there, but we can't be complacent about it. So we're still looking for new stuff. I mean, since Rosco's been in business 110 years, you don't do that by just resting on your laurels. Otherwise, you'd still be making the bulb dip and the film cement that we made in 1910.
Right.
And we'd be out of business because of it. So we keep looking for new things. I mean, Rosco's strengths are in light, really. It's ways of modifying light.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I'm going to be looking into. There's a few things that are in the pipeline already. That are kind of interesting. It's just a different way of thinking about life.
Yes.
So I think with good husbandry, with good management, there's nothing to say that Rosco won't make it to 200 years. Of course, I won't make it with them, but that's fine. Accepting it.
No, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you've got a day-night portrait of yourself in some attic somewhere that will keep you going for another 200 years.
Yeah, but I said that the canvas under those conditions only lasts 5 months, so I should have a vinyl one. That would be a lot.
You should have. Yes,
that would give me 1,000 years to work with.
Well, God, Phil, thanks so much for all of this. You were talking just then about looking into different ways of modifying light, and I was wondering if you might be able to show us some examples of that using the soft drop that I can see is set up in the background there.
Yeah, this is the demo room in LA, so we have one sort of very casually hung back there. But let's go take a look, and we'll see what it does.
Great, brilliant. See you there.
Yes, it's one I prepared very long ago. It's actually a shot, I think, from maybe the late 90s or 2000 of Murray Hill in New York, but it's a good drop because it's got a lot of depth to it. So it's one we use a lot in our demos. It really tells the story well. And yes, I prepped it earlier. Didn't hang it particularly carefully, so there's probably some wrinkles and stuff. But given that everything's been shut down for the last 2 months, not particularly surprising.
Okay.
So here we are in kind of the day look. I've actually got a little bit of backlight on, so some of the windows you might just be able to see as lit, as office windows often are in big cities. But I'm going to step out and go play with the lighting board and give you an idea of what we can
Great.
achieve.
Thanks.
All right, so obviously this is daylight. We're actually at 6,500, so quite Kelvins. So quite blue on the light end of things. I can bring that down slowly to see. So that's more of a standard sort of daylight feel.
And are you adjusting the front lights there, or a mixture of both? Front lights.
Right now, I'm adjusting the front lights. So what I'm doing is I'm changing the color temperature of the front lights to create more of a sort of slightly moody, almost thunderstormy or late day sort of feel. A little bit warmer light. So this is at 2,800 kelvins, which is pretty warm for light. And then, like I said, we've already got the lights up on the back. So what I'll do is I'll just slowly fade out the front, and you'll get a feel for the different sort of looks you can get. So obviously this is full day, but the offices do have some lights on. And then as the light starts to drain from the sky, which is going to happen slowly at first, and hopefully the gain on the camera isn't going to cut in, because it'll completely negate what I'm doing here. Are you seeing that on screen?
Yes, the camera's are compensating for it slightly, but I am seeing it. Yeah, and keep going.
Let's take it down as far as we can, and then we'll just slam down to night, and you'll see the full night effect.
Right.
This is definitely sort of twilighty feeling. The lights have come on in the windows. There's a weird effect that you get actually, where because some of the windows are brighter than others, often it feels that some individual windows come on one by one, which of course is not the case. It's just a wash. If you're being really clever about it, you can actually address the windows individually with like a small dado light or something, so you can have windows go on and off. And I've seen it done on productions, but it just takes a bit of planning.
Yes.
So let's go down to night now.
Right.
Yeah. So this is full backlit, zero front lights. Yeah. And of course, if you wanted to then come back in and you know, create the effect of there being something going on down at the bottom, we could add some glow down in here, or if there were a neon sign or something, and you could, you know, get a bit of variation going.
Yes.
Probably not by using your hand over a mini mix, but you get the idea.
Yeah, sure.
So, I mean, we call it a day-night, but it's more of it's a day into night. So you can get a variety of other sort of looks out of it along the way. And we've had shows that would actually rig a lighting board so you could dial in particular looks. So, you know, day, night, dusk, low, evening, sunlight, wet Tuesday afternoon, whatever you want to put on it.
I guess that makes a lot of sense if you've got a series or something as well, because then you can.
Yeah, because you don't necessarily want the same look out the window the whole time. I mean, you know,
right.
It gets a little dull.
Yes. Okay. Well. Thanks very much for that. I think that's been really enlightening and very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Phil, for spending the time and explaining, and wishing you a great day.
Yeah, and looking forward to being back in London at some point when we're actually allowed to move.
That would be fantastic. We'll have to have a beer together.
Yeah, the BSC Expo, hopefully in January, will go. So let's have a beer then.
That's a very good idea. Look forward to seeing you then. Take care. All the best. Thanks.
Bye.